Now I'm going to get into the jobs I've had. And this is where people wonder, am I the right person to present this to you? I'm going to start off here on the first line and this is not to scale. From 1979 to 2005, I had those 6 jobs. Started off with EDS and then went to Arc Oil and Gas Company, and I was there for 14 years. Then went to Dell Computer. If you hadn't heard of the first two, I'm pretty certain you've heard of Dell. And then I went to Check Free. Now, so Arco is an oil and gas company, energy company. Dell is a manufacturing company, even though now it's a technology company. Back in the 90s, it was a manufacturing company. We built computers. And then I went to Check Free, which was a financial services company. And then I went to Interland, which was a web hosting company. And then I went to CompuCredit, which was another financial services company. So that was the first job I had that repeated one of the industries I had worked at previously over the previous 36 years. So for my first 34 years, every time I changed jobs, I also changed industries. So continuing, I went from CompuCredit to Rackspace, which is a web hosting cloud company. Many of you may have heard of that. And then for Rackspace, I became the director of operations for a research center at UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. And from there, I went to Layer Tech, which is another cloud company similar to Rackspace. And from there, I went to Engine Yard, which was a PaaS, or platform as a service, another cloud-based sort of hosting company. So at this point, by 2014, I'd been involved in 4 different web or hosting or cloud companies. And then launched our first startup, got involved in launching a startup in 2015 called Barricade, which is the Barricade icon you see there. And this was based on cloud-based early warning system for attacks on websites and data servers. We were successful. We actually sold that company to Sophos and feel really good about that exit. Went from there to being a part-time instructor at the Center for Infrastructure Assurance and Security, which is also at UTSA. That's a part-time job, which I continue to have today since 2017. So if you look at this final line across the bottom, that star, that CIIS job I have, runs through all of those up to and including today. So let's talk about that bottom line and what that really means. My next job was in 2018 with LexLine, which is a risk assessment and awareness program, mainly for financial institutions, but it's going to be growing into more than that. I left LexLine. I was a co-founder there. I left LexLine and joined Innovate, which was a 9-month federal contract working for the Air Force, and I knew that was 9 months. Then launched another startup called Service in 2020, which was going to serve both the airport environment for bringing food to passengers and the restaurant environment. And for those of you that may remember 5 years ago, working in either airports or in restaurants in early 2020 was pretty much a recipe for disaster. So that was a failed startup because even though I believe it was the right idea and I think we had all the right things in place, it was certainly at the wrong time because there were no airports or restaurants for us to serve. So that just didn't work for us. Went from there to a data management company, Elation. And from there, in the same year, to Loyal Health. And then back to LexLine. Actually, I've had 3 stints with LexLine, but I only have 2 on the timeline here. From there, I went to Cloud Security Alliance, a nonprofit, which you may have heard of. And since 2023, for over 2 years now, I've been leading the Identity Defined Security Alliance, another startup. Now, in my opinion, this slide isn't busy enough. So I want to add one more layer to this, all the different colors and circles, and you can see the legend to it down below. If one of the positions is in red, that means I designed the job description. Now, in addition to that, every single job that says started and built program with a blue circle, I also designed the job description at each of those. So for all of those in circles, in blue or in red, that job was either didn't exist or was different when it was posted by the time I ended up filling it. And then those that have green inside the circle were also C-level positions. So you can see the mix that's in there. What's consistent, though, is I really focused a lot on building what the job was. There are 3 jobs that exist that I took as written. The first one was my first job in information technology, and that kind of makes sense. The second one was that part-time teaching position, and that's also a pretty straightforward position. And the third one was that 9-month federal contract. For every other job that I've had, built the job from either the ground up or re-engineered it from what they intended. And I'm saying that because that's how I built my career. And I'm offering to you, each one of you can do the same thing. Now, you may not be an executive, you may not want to be an executive, but you can build your career based on how you build your job. So